Every year when I take the Christmas decor down, my house feels a little spare and empty, and I think that winter is the ultimate forgotten decor season. People think of winter decor as Christmas decor, but Christmas season is only about a month long, two sometimes if you decorate right after Halloween. And you have three very doldrummy months that you need to decorate for, so I hope you'll come along with me as I add some beautiful winter touches to keep us cozy this winter season.
Decorating for winter is a little bit unique in that you probably have had a lot of greenery and such out in your home, and maybe some things that sparkle, like twinkle lights or real candles or faux candles, maybe some metallics, and all of those things are really worth keeping out during your winter season as well. I just remove anything that's red. But what I like to do is kind of pull things forward from my house that I've left out thinking they might work for winter. And I also like to pull out anything from my decor cabinet or from my basement that is winter related. And so these are high texture furs and knits. I love metallics. I love greens that don't have red in them. I love branches that look frosty or snowy, not necessarily flocked, but just kind of snowy and icy. And I like to bring all of that together onto my dining room table and then kind of use that as an opportunity to shop from that table. The purpose of this for me is just to recognize all that I already have. And my agreement with myself is always that I will shop my house before I shop any stores for additional seasonal decor. And what I find is if I'll go ahead and set up a little display for myself like this, I find it incredibly inspiring as I'm doing it. I realize I have plenty and I don't need to get anything else. And I can really just enjoy the decor that I've collected over the years instead of always feeling like it's never enough and I need to have more. And so I might just encourage you to try that if you haven't done that before. So I am starting in my living room and I'm going to put this big knit throw that is super high texture. It's like a super fun wool throw with nubby pieces and fringe. It's actually just from my bedroom. I have it up there all year round, but I'm going to pull it down here for winter and I'm adding this little fur pillow on top. And then I'm combining that with a knit pillow that has a fun little tassel on the end. And between these few pieces, it just really dresses up my couch and makes it feel really nice in here. And then I'm putting a textured, maybe kind of a boucle texture of throw on this chair, and I'll add a little fur pelt pillow on here. And then on my mantle, I'll be putting a vase that has greens in it. And I added a couple of aspen branches and one kind of frosty looking twiggy branch. And I had that out on the little table that's by my stairs, but I just moved that in here because I always like to have greens on my mantle, and having them in a big vase is perfect. Now, I do switch out my artwork seasonally, and so this is a canvas print that I think is from Hobby Lobby, and it's just kind of a kind of snowy, icy scene without being too specific in that direction. And then I'm using this icy little garland, which I've twisted into a wreath, to put under the lamp in my foyer. I'm going to use a little ice skate ornament and I'll twist that just around the neck of this lamp. And I love this ornament. I've had it for so many years. It was just on the top of a gift that I received one year, but I love using it in my winter decor. I think it's so charming. And then I'm putting a blanket scarf on this bench. And a blanket scarf is such a great thing if you need a small blanket somewhere that's not too big or too drapey, but you just want the softness and that added texture and layer. I ended up moving this one over to the side because it just felt a little bit more balanced to me. In my kitchen, I have a couple of trays that I keep out all of the time. They have things on them that we use at those two locations by the range and by the sink. And I always just add a little bit of seasonal greenery in my head planter. And so this one is perfect. It just has greens and then a couple of little pine cones. And then I'm also putting my little touch lamp on here, which just adds a little bit of sparkle and light. That's always something I miss at Christmas time when it's over, is like the sparkle of the tree. and of the little glowy things that are out throughout the house. But what I find is that if you have enough lamp lighting and if you add in some of the cozy lighting from, candlelight and maybe some twinkle lights during January, it's very fun and special and it still feels cozy like the tree has made things for you. I'm working on just a couple of little arrangements, which I'll set out on tabletops throughout my house. And I'm using greenery that I also had out at Christmas time. This is a little thermos that is fun and cream colored, and then it has leather straps. And I'm going to put this on my little table by my stairs. And then I'm using this footed white bowl to make a little arrangement with this aspen birch bark kind of candle, which is on a timer. And so it's a faux candle, and then some antlers and some gilded figs. And I think this will make just a really nice arrangement to set into my living room. I love to pair that with a great big pine cone, which you can easily find at thrift stores and that kind of thing this time of year. And I really love them. They last for several years and then eventually they just experience enough damage that you have to get rid of them. But I love the texture that they add and they definitely feel just overtly winter to me. So I'm making another arrangement in this brown scalloped bowl that I have. And this one I'll put on another tabletop. And I'm just going to include a couple of little wintry accessories like a bird and another one of the birch bark candles. This is going to go in the same room, so that kind of creates some cohesion. Another antler, again, to create cohesion. And then a sparkly pine cone. And I think between all of those things, it will feel like the frosty days of winter, which I always like that look, especially during January and early February. And I think that it's important to note that, our climate has a little bit of ice, a little bit of snow, and then still a lot of days that are sunny and green. And so that's kind of what I want my decor to reflect. If you lived in Florida or something, maybe you would want to have citrus out during the winter. And so you just have to kind of take cues from nature and then let that be reflected in your decor. And that makes it feel less contrived and more like you're bringing the outdoors into your home. And it'll feel more seasonal and seasonally appropriate, I think, that way. Outside, I don't do a whole lot because I have these planters with greenery in them. So I'm just adding a really high texture throw and a boucle pillow that brings in some of the black from the little accent thread in this throw. And then I like to include just a simple wreath that's just greenery and pine cones, no red or anything that feels Christmassy, just feels wintry. And I like to tie a scarf around that and then just kind of dress that up along the wreath. And that always just feels really charming to me on the outside of my door. And it just kind of speaks winter with that added layer of the scarf for texture. Well, I'll just remind you of how simple my living space looked before I decorated and how much just a few little touches can bring this space into a cozy, charming winter space. So I hope that I've inspired you and that you'll join me on my next one. Thanks for watching.